There has to be some common sense.
Yes, sir. They have the car stopped at 10th and Ranch, Michael Byler.
We still don't know who pulled the trigger. Hello, everyone, and welcome to Police Off the Cuff, Real Crime Stories. I'm your host, retired NYPD Sergeant Bill Cannon, a 27-year veteran of the NYPD. Folks, today we entered day 13 of missing Minnesota mother Madeline Kingsbury. Now, I know early on in this investigation, the police, the Winona police did ask for volunteers to search and to help, and over 2,000 people volunteered to help in this search. It seems at this point it has entered, as it should, more of an investigative phase of this case. And if the police, if they need additional people to search or to do searches, more targeted searches, they will certainly ask for that. But right now, they haven't been. So let's just focus on this case a little bit, going back to the timeline. And March 31st at 8 a.m. in the morning, Madeline and her partner we know to be Adam Fravel. He's the daddy of the two babies. And his name was put out there on social media by himself. So I'm not breaking any investigative whodunit stuff and put something out there that the police will not do, but they're referring to him as her partner when it is out there that his name is Adam Fravel. So Madeline and Adam Fravel dropped their 5-year-old daughter and 2-year-old son at daycare. At 8:15 a.m., this is on March 31st, the dark blue 2014 Chrysler Town and Country minivan Madeline drives returns to her residence. Now, returns to her residence, they're not telling you who's in it at that point, right? Madeline doesn't show up for work at the Mayo Clinic, something Chief Williams says is very unlike her. Now, I just want to add a couple of things there, folks. There's probably video on that block. People have these doorbell cameras. They have other cameras. So they should be able to somehow catch the van pulling into the driveway. And who got out of the van? Did anyone get out of the van? Obviously, someone had to. Someone was driving it. So who got out of the van? That's important. At 10 a.m., Madeline's partner, who we know to be Adam Fravel, tells police he left the residence in her van, returned later in the day, and she was gone. Police say there is nothing to suggest she left on foot or in another vehicle, which suggests to me that they are monitoring video at that location for them to be able to say that. There's nothing to suggest that she left in another vehicle or on foot. So now 10 a.m. through 1:30 p.m., investigators believe a van similar to Madeline's was seen driving on Country Road 12 and Highway 43 in Winona County. And then on Highway 43 in Eastern Fillmore County, the van was later found in the driveway of Madeline's residence. So, folks, again, from an investigative standpoint, and I don't know the terrain around Winona, Minnesota, and the other area of Fillmore County. However, in this day and age, the chances are that there are license plate readers and potentially video at certain locations. If it's that in the sticks and they don't have that, that's a possibility. But many police departments in many areas have these cameras all over the place. We saw that in the case of the 4 students in Idaho that were murdered. Ethan Chapin, Zaina Knodel, Madison Mogan, and Kaylee Gonsalves. I always like to say their names because they're the real victims of that case. But we saw in that case, even though it was in Idaho, it was around a campus, that there was a lot of investigative aids for the police. For example, video cameras that were on other people's houses. All right. Now, we may not think because Madeline's cell phone was left in her home during the time that she went, or we believe the time she went with Adam Fravel to drop off her children at daycare. We want to see those cell phones, both Adam's and we want to see Madeline's cell phones, because they can tell us a lot of things. Text messages. What was the rapport between Adam and Madeline prior to this March 31st? What was the tone they used to communicate? How were they communicating? Where had Adam been in the days and weeks? What was his routine leading up to this? So all of those things are investigative. Of course, we mentioned for the first day we covered this case that we want to see all of their computer, both his computer and Madeline's computer, and we want to go through it. We want to forensically go through the computer. Now, if the police had no direction right now, I think they would still be searching. They'd be searching. I think they may have an investigative direction. This, of course, was posted on Adam's Facebook site. If anybody has seen Madeline since 10 a.m. Friday, please contact the Winona PD, me, or any of our family members. I see lots of misinformation already being posted. Maddie was at home with me from 8 to 10:30, which is when I left to do errands. When I returned an hour-ish later, she was gone. Please help me find the mom to our two kids. Now, the timeline isn't specifically that specific as he is on his Facebook post there. The timeline is spread out a lot more. So there's things that perhaps the police know that's not out there right now. I also want to just say that, again, anyone with information is asked to call the Winona Police at 507-457-6288 or contact Crime Stoppers Minnesota online or by calling 1-800-222-TIPS. That's 8477 instead of TIPS. So again, this is really entered the investigative phase of this, of course. And when we see Madeline's picture on the screen here, it is heartbreaking. I mean, just think of how much a 5-year-old and a 2-year-old needs their mother. Ridiculously so. They, a 5-year-old and a 2-year-old so depends on their mother. So this is heartbreaking in so many different ways. And, we want nothing more than this case to be solved and Madeline to be found healthy and alive.
An urgent search underway for a missing mom, 26-year-old Madeline Kingsbury, affectionately known as Maddie. She was reported missing from her home 11 days ago. Now her face and description are plastered on a billboard. Her distraught family appeared at a news conference wearing hoodies and t-shirts emblazoned with the missing poster. Maddie is 5'4", 135 pounds, with short brown curly hair and hazel eyes. Maddie is a clinical research coordinator at the world-renowned Mayo Clinic in Minnesota.
We wanted to put as much out there as we could.
I spoke to her devastated mom, Christine Aber.
We have so many questions. It's like she vanished out of thin air.
She was last seen dropping her kids off at daycare along with her boyfriend, Adam Fravel. He's a pilot.
The father of Maddie's children has spoken to law enforcement and told us that he left the residence in Maddie's van around 10 a.m. and upon returning later in the day, Maddie was not home.
What's their relationship?
Due to the ongoing nature of that investigation, I really don't want to speak a lot to that. Her normal day would have been going to work.
And she never showed up.
Right.
What do you think happened to her?
What I would like to think is that she is somewhere and that we'll be able to find her.
Police have not named any suspects. The family has offered a $50,000 reward for information about Madeline's disappearance.
So, folks, I don't want to spread. There's not a lot of concrete information investigatively, so I'm not going to spread any rumors. I can just say what is done and what should be done in cases like this. Of course, you're going to always target the last person that saw her, and they should be really checking that van also, the electronics of the van, the computer. Does it have GPS in the computer where it can determine where the van has been, where it's been driven, speed it's been driven, locations it's been driven? All of that is very, very important, as well as we talk about cell phone information, electronic information. Now, the mom said, and a lot of you guys are saying, the mom said she didn't show up for work. To me, that means she was supposed to physically go to her office. Many people online, which I can't confirm, is that she potentially worked remotely. Then why would people say she didn't go to work? That sort of implies to me that she physically was supposed to go to work. And I could be wrong, but I think that's what that's implying, that she didn't show up for work. Very important. In the way that if she was supposed to physically show up for work, then why did Adam take the van? That's a big question I have. And I don't know if anyone here has the answer to that. I certainly don't have the answer myself. So I'm not going to conjecture. It's just, I can just conjecture and say, ask those questions, but I'm not going to give a concrete answer.
The urgent search for a missing Minnesota mother of two, last seen dropping off her kids at daycare a week and a half ago. Nearly 2,000 volunteers turning out over the weekend to help look for clues. Eva Pilgrim is here with the story. Good morning, Eva.
Good morning, Rebecca. The mother of two didn't show up for work and then didn't show up to pick up her kids, which her family says was extremely out of character. Police saying they are concerned for her safety, calling her disappearance suspicious.
This morning, an urgent search for a missing Minnesota mom. Madeline Kingsbury was last seen 11 days ago after dropping her two kids off at daycare.
I tried to call, nobody picked up, and that's kind of when alarm bells were going off.
According to police, Kingsbury and her children's father dropped their kids off at daycare shortly after 8 a.m. on Friday, the two returning to her home. The father saying he left the house in her dark blue Chrysler minivan around 10 a.m. When he returned later that day, he says Kingsbury was not there.
Our department and our law enforcement partners are working relentlessly to find Maddie and determine the circumstances surrounding her disappearance.
Investigators say it doesn't appear the 26-year-old left her home, finding her phone, the jacket she was wearing that morning, and her wallet still inside. Police.
Folks, that's an interesting statement. It doesn't appear that the 26-year-old left her home, which to me is implying that there must be video around that house that could ascertain, in fact, if she ever left the house or she ever came back from the trip driving her two children to daycare. That's interesting. It doesn't appear that she left the house. Did she ever come back to the house? That's a question I have.
Police say her minivan was seen that day driving along a nearby county road between 10:30 a.m. and 1:30 p.m. Authorities have searched the van. Her sister Megan saying not hearing from her is out of character, telling us Kingsbury was supposed to come to her home the following day, Saturday, with her daughter.
It's swimming around in your head, like, why haven't I heard anything from her?
Nearly 2,000 volunteers combing through an area near Kingsbury's home. The family now offering a $50,000 reward for any information that helps them find her.
We love her, and Maddie, we're going to find you.
And Megan telling us that Maddie's two children, her 5-year-old daughter and 2-year-old son, are safe and cared for right now. As for possible suspects, police not naming any as of now. We've asked if the father of her children is cooperating. They've declined to comment. Guys.
Folks, that says a great deal. If when they're asked if the father of the children is cooperating, they decline to comment. What does that say to you, right? And I'm not, again, I don't have enough information to point out, oh, he's definitely a suspect. But we have some questions. We have some questions. Where is the investigation going? What do they know right now? This is highly unusual that someone is taken from their home. There's on the screen right now is a picture of that. I believe it's a Chrysler van, and that was seen driving around between 10 a.m. and 1:30. And we spoke about the locations it was seen. It was seen County Road 12 and Highway 43 in Winona County, and then on Highway 43 in Eastern Fillmore County. When you hear people talking in absolutes that was the van, I don't think it's been confirmed, at least by law enforcement, that 100% is the van. Ray Kelly, which PD has lead on the case? We believe the Winona police are the lead police agency on this case. So yeah, they're leading the investigation. We don't know at this point, again, what do they have on this case? What do they have investigatively? Nick, she never came back home with him. They went together to drop off the kids, and they argued she was injured. Sally was probably badly injured. There must be a ring camera. Nick, I don't know where you're getting that information from. I haven't received that information from anyone. I don't believe it's been reported by the police. Last night, a couple nights ago, Banfield reported on this. We'll play a little bit of her. But there has been no really investigative information that we can all hang our hat on and say, oh, this is the way they're going. Victoria Burgess, if he has a plane, she could be anywhere. One of the things about having a plane, and if that was used somehow in this disappearance, pilots have to fill out logs. They have to report into the air traffic controller before they take off. There pretty much is some checks and balances, and going into an airport and taking off in a plane. I don't think you can just take off on a plane without notifying anyone. There's certain radio transmissions you have to make. So if he in fact did fly that plane, there would be evidence of it. So I know everyone's referring to, there was a picture of him on Facebook by this plane. When I dug in a little bit, people say he doesn't own a private plane. He is a pilot, although he sometimes will rent a plane. There would be another record of that if he, in fact, rented a plane. So none of this information is known to the general public right now. Is it known to law enforcement? I don't know. We can't, it hasn't been shared with the public, so we don't know if it has been.
Maddie Kingsbury sent a very funny text to her sister. Sister thought it was hilarious. And then things weren't so funny, because after she sent that text, nobody heard from Maddie. And no one picked her kids up at the daycare until someone else had to. And Maddie wasn't home at the end of the day. But Maddie's phone and her wallet and her ID and the jacket she was wearing when she dropped those kids off at the daycare, those were all inside the home. Police said Maddie did not disappear on her own. They said it is suspicious and it is involuntary. This happened 10 days ago in Winona, Minnesota.
So guys, by the police saying that it is suspicious and involuntary, they know things that we don't know. They know things that they have not given to the press, and for good reason. They want, again, you hear this expression all the time, they want to keep it close to the vest, and there's reasons investigatively that they're doing that. And however, we have to know that they know a lot that we do not know.
She's just 26 years old, and she has 2 little kids aged 2 and 5. Last person to see her was the dad. The dad told police that he borrowed her dark minivan, and when he came back, she was gone. It is all a mystery, and more than 2,600 people have been searching for Maddie everywhere. They've tried everything: dive teams, police ATVs, 120,000 acres, 2 massive searches. Joining me now is Maddie Kingsbury's mom, Krista Neighbor. Krista, is there any update that you can give us on the search for your daughter?
You know, at this time, the police have expanded the search area to Houston County to continue the search for Madeline. You know, we just continue to be at it every day, searching, hoping for tips and clues via Crime Stoppers or local PD for any information.
And I'm going to put that number up on the screen, Krista, so that anybody who's watching who might know something can call in a tip, because Lord knows more eyeballs, that definitely helps. It's right there on the screen.
Absolutely.
It's 507-457-6302. We'll leave that up there. I also
Thank
just
you.
wanted to ask you if there was anything unusual going on in Maddie's life, anything that you can think of that was just out of the ordinary before she disappeared 10 days ago.
You know, Madeline was just a hard at work mom. She took care of her 2 babies. She had started graduate school in January. Things were really finally looking up for her. And it was her goal just to continue to improve her life and the life for her kiddos.
And the kiddos, where are they tonight?
You know, the kids are safe and doing well at this time, and that's we're very thankful for that.
So you know, obviously in any story like this, the very first person that police go to, and certainly the suspicions go to, would be the last person to have seen Madeline, and that was the father of the kids. Can you describe what their relationship was like, or whether he's being considered a suspect or a person of interest at this time?
You know, we're hopeful that the evidence and things that they're collecting are going to lead us in the right direction as to who's responsible. You know, the investigation is ongoing, so I really can't speak to anything in that nature.
Understand. Was she dating anybody else that you know of?
No, I really can't go into that at this.
Wow, Banfield really, really prized, you know, and obviously this mom, Ms. Kingsbury, has been spoken to by the police that if you're asked certain questions, do not answer them this way, because they're obviously trying to keep this investigation, again, close to the vest. And people have asked in the chat, has he lawyered up yet? As far as I know, he has not. And folks in the chat, you know that if someone who is a suspect, if they invoke counsel and they don't want to speak to the police, they don't have to, and that's their right. So I don't know at this point if he's lawyered up or not. When the police are asked if he's cooperating, they really don't give you much information. They don't talk about it. They'll basically say, "Oh, that's under investigation," and they don't give you any clear answer to what's going on. And you know, they earlier on, of course, early in this investigation, they had the press conference, and the police haven't had a press conference since then. There was rumors that there was supposed to be a press conference. Again, rumors. There was supposed to be a press conference yesterday, and then there never was. Let me play a little bit of this from the first press conference.
I'm Winona Police Chief Tom Williams. Today's large volunteer search happened because we heard from people in Winona, our surrounding neighbors, and across the state of Minnesota that they wanted to help. We are so thankful for the outpouring of support for Maddie and her family. We're having volunteers meet at 2 locations and from there fan out to search multiple areas. This is tough terrain, and we are grateful to the hundreds of volunteers who are taking their personal time to assist with the search. As to the investigation, I can only say that it remains very active. Our department and our law enforcement partners are working relentlessly to find Maddie and determine the circumstances surrounding her disappearance. We continue to ask people living in Fillmore, Houston, and Winona counties, walk your property if you haven't done so already. Look for signs of anything suspicious, a disturbance, or anything out of place. We are continuing to ask people in these areas to check their cameras and please save the video. And if you have any information that can lead us to Maddie or the circumstances surrounding her disappearance, please call Crime Stoppers Minnesota at 1-800-222-TIPS. Again, Crime Stoppers Minnesota at 1-800-222-TIPS, or the Winona Police Department at 507-457-6288. We remain very hopeful that we will bring Maddie back home to her family. I'll now ask Sheriff John DeGeorge from Fillmore County to step up.
So, folks, very little information has been given out since very early on in this investigation. So we're no further on knowing what the direction is of this investigation, what they found out. It seems as though the searches have stopped. They've ceased. People are asking in the chat, have they requested Equus search? And you guys know that we're very tight with Equus search. And Equus search doesn't take part in a search unless they're requested by the police department in the vicinity, in the area. In this case, it would be the Winona Police Department. So they don't get involved in that unless they're asked to. I understand there's also been numerous dives in the lakes in the Winona County. So they've done that. It seems like they've done an extremely thorough job in the search. However, again, we don't know where they're at investigatively. And folks, that's one of the things I know as a former member of the service, a former NYPD police sergeant. These type of cases take a long time. If you don't find anything in the first couple of weeks, it could stretch on for a long time. It's unfortunate, but that happens to be a reality. The West, Trezell West, and the other name escapes me. The 2 brothers, they were never found. Maya Malete, same thing. Her husband is going on trial starting in May. They never found her. So I'm not trying to be a deliverer of bad news, but these cases are not simple. They're very difficult. The investigative resources and that the police use, that's one of the reasons they keep it so close to the vest, because anything getting out could destroy their investigation. So they want to keep the information they have, again, close to the vest. I feel like we're overusing that expression. Moose Girl 108, right? It's her baby daddy. It's not Adam Fravel. There's not a legal marriage. However, they have a 5-year-old and a 2-year-old. In many places across the USA, that would be considered a common law husband. All right. I don't know what it is in Minnesota, but if you have a child in common in family court, at least in New York, you're considered family if you have a child in common. and put that, in essence, that's a common law husband if you have a child in common. Folks, this is Police Off the Cuff, real crime stories. If you like real crime stories from a police perspective, then you're in the right place. Go on our YouTube, hit that subscribe button, give us a thumbs up, ring the bell, make comments. We love reading your comments. We love answering your comments. And the most important thing is just to hit that like button. If you want to help us out financially, we have a Patreon with 3 different levels. And we also have a YouTube channel membership with, count them, 5 different levels if you want to join our YouTube. And we give extra content to our folks on our YouTube channel. Schmitty, that's why I had it in quotes, but okay, is there a pic of the baby daddy common law husband? The only pic that I do have was from his Facebook. And let me remove your remove the comments and you'll be able to see it better. That's the only picture I have right now. That is Adam Fravel. And again, we spoke about, yes, they're not legally married. However, in many states, when you have children, you're considered common law. So I don't know if that's the case in Minnesota. But folks, this is, again, as I said earlier on, we're going into the 13th day right now. And, early on, the police said this was a suspicious and involuntary disappearance. So they know some information that they're not letting out there that would make them use that type of language, and suspicious and involuntary. This is an overhead little site of when they were doing the searches.
This morning, the desperate search to find a missing Minnesota mom of 2 who disappeared 8 days ago.
Please help us find Madeline. The children need their mother.
Winona police officials say 26-year-old Maddie Kingsbury's disappearance is suspicious, and they are worried for her safety.
Our department and our law enforcement partners are working relentlessly to find Maddie and determine the circumstances surrounding her disappearance.
Nearly 2,000 volunteers showed up on Friday to help police conduct a massive ground search. Officials pleading with residents to search their properties for signs of the 26-year-old.
Walk your acreage, check your outbuildings, check your vehicles, walk trails, check your cameras for any indications of anything suspicious.
According to police, Maddie was last seen at home last Friday at approximately 8:15 in the morning after dropping her 2 children off with their father at daycare. The father told police he left Maddie's house at about 10 a.m. in her dark blue Chrysler minivan. When he returned later that day, he says she was not home. A minivan resembling hers was seen that same morning, driving along a nearby county road between 10:30 a.m. and 1:30 p.m. Investigators have searched the minivan and Maddie's home. Inside the house, they found her phone and her wallet.
I just was trying not to panic.
Maddie's sister Megan last texted her that morning, and everything seemed fine. The family now offering a $50,000 reward for information on her whereabouts.
We love her, and we could figure out anything and get through anything together. And we want her back, and we're not going to stop.
Watch.
So, folks, you would think that a $50,000 reward, if someone knows something, they would surely say something. In New York, we always say, if you see something, say something. But $50,000 reward can shake the tree a lot and things will fall out. The most important thing here, investigatively, is what we refer to a lot of times as victimology, studying the background of the victim. And, this person, Madeline Kingsbury, looks like the all-American mother, even an overachiever, someone with 2 young children, a 5-year-old and a 2-year-old, is a researcher at the Mayo Clinic, was starting graduate school or had started graduate school. Busy, right? Focused, really focused individual. what about her relationship potentially resulted in this happening? And in no way am I victim blaming at all, if anyone ever takes it as that. But we have to, as investigators, we have to look into the background of the victims. And sometimes the answer is there, the study of the victim. Let's look into the background. What specific things in the victim's background created this situation or did it? And again, I'm not victim blaming, but what do we know about the baby's daddy, Adam Fravel? What do we know about him? Very little, as far as I believe he worked in tech. He's a homegrown boy, right? I think they went to high school together, right? He's obviously a smart guy. I think he's a college graduate. He's a pilot. We want to look into his background too. And where does his background and Madeline's background intersect, and potentially not just intersect, but collide? And that's what the police are looking at now. They're looking at what occurred here. How did it occur? And they're trying to use all the investigative resources they possibly have. You know, one of the things that struck me right away is like, okay, just get back to the timeline. 8:00 in the morning, Madeline and her partner, it's referred to, even though we know it's Adam Fravel, drive the two children to daycare. All right, boom. They drive the two children to daycare. Now, was she ever dropped back at the house? That's so important. It says 8:15, the dark blue Chrysler Town and Country minivan Madeline drives and returns to her residence. But then Madeline doesn't show up for work. How do we know? How do we know that it returned to her residence? And how do we know that she got out of the car and went into the house? Do we know that? That's a huge, huge thing. Do we know that she ever returned? The van's returned. Did she ever return to the house? Do they have video of her getting out of the minivan? Do they have video of her getting back into the minivan? That's where the rubber hits the road, right there. Those are the answers that someone knows and we don't know. That is the case right there, you know. Missy Blue, if he wasn't living there, why was he there in the morning to drive kids to daycare as she was heading to work for the van? Was it a plan all along to do something? Misty Blue, we don't know the answer to that. We don't know if her going to work meant she was working remotely via her computer, or did she drive to work every day? She worked at the Mayo Clinic. We don't know the answers to that, but someone does. The police do. The investigators do. You know, I'm not gonna. I see a lot of people saying things in the chat that I can't confirm, so I'm not going to report that as fact, because until we get something that's fact, I'm not going to put it out there, because we don't know. And again, we know very little right now. Let me play a little bit more of Banfield here, who of course was trying to dig, and the mom was having none of it.
Time, just due to the ongoing nature of investigation. And I know that the police department and the surrounding communities are working very hard at helping pull together everything possible in order to find Madeline.
Chris, I'm just going to read that tip line again. It's 507-457-6302. I'll also remind our viewers that there is a $50,000 reward for information leading to Madeline's discovery. One quick last question, Krista, and that is the minivan. She had this dark blue minivan, and it was seen driving along a county road nearby between 10:30 a.m. and 1:30 p.m. Was anyone able to see who was driving it? Is there any clue that minivan might yield?
So far there's a lot of evidence and information we just don't have yet in terms of pointing to anything or anyone specific. We just remain very hopeful each day that we get closer to finding the missing answers and to bring our daughter home.
Thank you for watching.
So, folks, again, there's a lot of questions in this case. However, very few answers right now, and I know that that the police know the answers to lots of these questions that we're asking. Another thing with the investigation, of course, we would do a deep dive into Adam Fravel, his background, and also one of the things, of course, is was there a history of domestic violence? And I'm not saying there was. I'm asking that question. Was there a history of domestic violence? And one of the ways the police would know that would the police ever called to the house regarding a domestic violence incident? Were there police reports of a domestic violence incident? Did Madeline talk to her parents about her relationship with Adam Fravel, perhaps unraveling, perhaps breaking up? Right now, we're in the dark as to how that relationship was. These are all the investigative steps that would lead the investigators to an investigative direction. Some of you guys also mentioned Adventures with Purpose. And I know that in the searches here, there were certain bodies of waters that were searched. And apparently I had also read something that there were divers that had dove in some of these, I guess there would be lakes in the area. Now, if there is a targeted area where they have specific information, they could request Adventures with Purpose to respond. But again, the police have to request them, not the families. And again, we mentioned Equus Search Midwest, who we are actually honorary members of Equus Search, myself and Duty Ron. And I can't say enough great things about them. Folks, we're going to stay with this story. We're hoping that more information comes out. I could give you more of the information in regards to, again, the Winona Police, 507-457-6288, or Minnesota Crime Stop is 1-800-222-TIPS, TIPS, or 8477. So, folks, all we can do is pray for Madeline and her family and for her two small children that she's recovered alive. As I said earlier on in the show, this is the 13th day. We're into the 13th day of this investigation. And if anything, we know just as little day one as we knew from the very beginning. And I give a lot of credit to the local police because I think tough to do, tough to not put out information because there's a lot of pressure on the police to do so. But as far as helping your investigation, we say all the time that the police, the press can be your best friend or your greatest enemy. And we lived by that on the NYPD. And hopefully the Winona Police will use the press in ways that'll help this investigation and help to recover Madeline. And we're all hoping and praying for that. But at this point, we don't know what the police have as far as an investigation. And we can just conjecture, and I don't want to put out there things that aren't facts. But we do know this is a very strong, loving community where over 2,000 people showed up to search, which is an incredible thing. Just an incredible thing. You could see that Madeline Kingsbury was extremely loved, and her family is loved and respected. And that's an amazing thing. Folks, again, police off the cuff, I don't have any new information for you. At this point, I want to just say goodbye. Everyone have a great day, and we'll stay with this case. Hopefully you'll have a happy ending. Have a great day, everyone. God bless.
One episode just ain't enough.